Chamber Podcast. I'm Dan Hegarty, and I'm here at Ultimate Studios. And we're here to bring you an excellent music show. We have guests here who are going to talk about their music industry experience. We have great bands perform here. We have a very professional setup, as you can see. What? No, it's fine. As I was saying, we have excellent musicians who play here, great guests, and you're going to get to see a little bit of that and hear some too. Check it out, and come right back.
You're going to learn lots.
It's too bad how things change. Quickly beauty can decay. It's too
I can't pay my bills on time with $8 an hour, so I meet you at the bar tonight for the happy hour. I said,
the evening's evil. We are the atmosphere. Atoms filled with fear. Being together for, I would say, you got to play for 6 months or a year because you're not even a band yet. You don't have your shows together. And for me, if you can't play for an hour, you can't make money. An hour. Not 40 minutes, not 30 minutes, an hour.
They giving you a budget to work inside of? Is it that kind of thing?
Comes from the label mainly, I think, that limits the manager, and the manager sees what they have to do with that money and how many shows they want to do with that money. So it affects how many people go on the road.
If you see me sweat and you see me crying on stage, you see me bleeding, it's real.
Yeah.
You know, and the guys play really hard and we give them a show. That's how you get to the next level.
So now you see what we do here at the Music Chamber. We have great musicians, we have excellent guests, we have a lot of good friends who come to see us, and what?
Dude, our guest right now, they're alone in the studio. We forgot again. We're sitting here doing this video. We left him alone in the studio.
This is what happens when you put drummers in charge of things.
Oh my God.
We got to get to the guest right now.
We got to go.
Let's
go.
And we are live. Welcome to the Music Chamber, everybody. Dan Hegarty here.
Charlie Waymeyer here.
And we're here with Jared Saia, who's been a good sport to come in again. We've had him once before, and we had a complete technical breakdown.
Had some issues that day.
Yeah, just a few. Audio and visual.
Oh, yeah.
Double
Nothing went our way that day.
Yes. So thank you for coming back, Jared.
Of course.
You know, that was almost 5 months ago that he was in here. So
Was it really that long?
It was that long.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, this year went fast, right?
Wow.
Not fast enough. Hopefully this football season will end.
Oh, I've been there all too soon.
Yeah.
Too recently.
No, you won last time.
But it wasn't that long ago. We were 2-14.
Oh. What was that?
Right before Andy Reid.
Oh.
Yeah.
Things have been a little different in
Several
Kansas City.
years in a row.
It's been a little different since then.
But the Saints have won 7 in a row.
Ah, yes. We have 2 happy fans here today. That's good.
Yes, we do.
Normally there's one, and it's usually Charlie because of...
Sorry,
what's
Dan and
going
I
on
were
here.
arguing right before the podcast about football.
Well, because Charlie, like a lot of people, likes to give me shit about Eli Manning.
I wasn't giving you shit. I was making a football statement. It had nothing to do with picking on your team.
Okay. That's common. It's okay. No, I get it. It's easy. He's an easy target. The team's terrible this year, and if you're the quarterback, you always get the blame. And there are better quarterbacks than him. I'm not denying that. But, you know, people talk about how he doesn't deserve it, and it's the team around him, and he doesn't do anything. And I say, look at the games that he's won, and look at his stats. He's legit.
Stats tell part of the story. We can look at Alex Smith's winning record, and nothing's come out of that.
Well,
he's one of the most winning quarterbacks in the league right now.
He's a beast.
Sometimes. He has been quite a bit this year, actually.
Right. But my point is, too, especially against, you know, the 2 championships that he does have, if you look at his stats and look at Brady's stats and look at the big plays that had to happen, he came through. He's a clutch guy. He's not an all-around, but he's a clutch guy. You put him in that big situation, the chances of him cracking are not good. He does do it. I've seen it more than once. But he can pull out the clutch play. But you got to give him a team to play with. This year, we don't have one. We have a lot of rookies and guys who are hurt.
Odell, that sucks.
Well, I knew that we were in trouble with him in that preseason game. I was like, oh, no. He's going to be out for at least 2 weeks. They better not play him too soon, and they did, and that's that.
Yep.
Yeah. Uh-oh. What do we got? A technical problem here?
Here we go again.
Uh-oh. Welcome back, Jared. You know, normally I'm the guy who creates all these problems. I'm convinced it's you, because this is twice now.
I think I just bring bad energy into the room.
You know, we've had like 10 episodes with no problem
I know.
since you, right?
It's me.
Yeah, it's definitely.
No, we're good right now. I was just too loud.
Oh. What?
I know.
You too.
Shocker. Shocker.
Nice. So who do you have this week?
Giants.
Oh, that's right. So congratulations. I'm going to just give it to you now.
I'm not ready to do that.
I am. Here you go.
I'm not.
We're going to get the pick. We're going to get the pick. That's what I'm rooting for now. Yeah. So outside of that, what's been going on here at the studio?
Well, we're getting ready for a big-ass show.
Yes, we are. That's right. December 7th, Thursday, December 7th, everybody. Make sure you are marking the calendar. We have 3 great bands, which feature...
Rob Linus is our opener.
Yep. Rob Linus. Tell us a little about Rob.
Rob is a kick-ass outlaw country artist. We're actually in the middle. Yes. Yeah, Jared, you know him. He's played for you.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of doing his album right now.
Nice.
And all the basic tracking is done. We start overdubs on Sunday.
Nice. And who's the next one up after that?
The Blood Moon Howlers. Killer combo. Well, it's 3-piece. Dan Welby, he's going to be pulling double duty on drums, but Matt and Juju are fantastic.
That's
it's
awesome.
Some high-energy rock.
Very cool. And then Electra will be our closer. Electra is a rock singer and performer. She's been on The Voice in Greece. She has a very, if you take Flyleaf, I guess, and combine it with, up-tempo, 80s kind of rock, too, along with, 90s alternative. It's a really exciting band. Dan is the drummer for that as well, Dan Welby. Thanks again, Dan Welby, for doing the show.
Yep.
And it's going to be an awesome time, a great cause, Toys for Tots benefit. So to come to this show, if you're in Los Angeles, all you need to do is bring an unwrapped new toy for Toys for Tots to donate. The Marines will be here themselves to help out, so you will bring the toy or you will pay a $20 donation to come in. So bring the toy.
Or you won't get in.
Yep.
And you'll be shamed by the Marines.
Yes.
Shamed.
I dare you to try to get by the Marines.
Can you imagine if the Marines just started shaming people? That'd be amazing.
We're going to put a camera out there and film that.
Oh, that would be awesome. Oh, Full Metal Jacket. You couldn't bring one toy? Look at your jacket. You can afford a toy.
Like major,
Look at those shoes.
Like Major Pain.
Totally. Oh, that would be amazing if that happened. Well, we also have some great sponsors for the show as well. I'd like to thank Hellbent Leather and also Warlord Clothing for donating some raffle items. We will have a raffle here, so that's something else you get to do if you come here. We're getting...
As well as Chipotle.
Yes.
They are going to be feeding us that night.
All right.
Yes.
That's awesome. My local Chipotle, I'm there 5 days a week.
Yes, that's
sometimes 6, so I know them all. It's like tonight I walk in and the general manager was actually working in the food line.
Nice. And thank you again to Panorama City Chipotle for doing this for us. We really appreciate it.
You guys rule.
1 or 2 more coming up that you'll find out soon. We'll be announcing this multiple times across all of our social media platforms, which is The Music Chamber Live on Facebook, on SoundCloud, on Instagram, at the MC Live on Twitter, and Ultimate Studios Inc. on YouTube with some of the video content. And that's where the live stream will be happening.
Yes, sir.
So if you're not in Los Angeles and you want to come to the show, you can check it out online.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll be able to donate to Toys for Tots as well.
We'll have donate buttons and everything, yeah.
And the other thing that's awesome is that you can watch the setup of the show this year is going to be live. So
yeah, we'll do it 7. We're going to do a behind-the-scenes broadcast for about 20, 25 minutes and go through the entire setup of how we get the room set up, the console, everything. So
you guys will see how all of this and the room inside where everybody plays work together. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be cool.
Yes. So that is... Again, Thursday, December 7th. Please check out the event page on the Music Chamber's Facebook, and we hope to see you there. It's going to be a great night. So then we'll have one more podcast before that on November 30th with a special guest that we're hoping to lock down in the next couple of days.
We're working on one.
Yeah. So Thanksgiving break from this, but then back on the 30th, and then the show on the 7th. So it's been a hell of a year here. Huh?
I know. It's gone fast.
I was just looking at, I think we had 14 or 15 guests this year.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, doing this part of it.
When did we start doing this?
The podcast in general, it's over a year ago. It's I think the first podcast was August or September of last year.
I mean, you'd think I'd know because I was there.
Yeah. Well,
I really don't know.
Well, you've also been so busy turning the knobs. You know what I mean? It's it's a show.
No good way to say that.
Nope. Turning the knobs, flipping the switches, flicking the levers.
And you guys do multiple podcasts as well, right?
This is the one that we do for the Music Chamber specifically. Charlie has a recording show.
I've got a live recording show we do, yep.
Yeah.
And you have another one too, though, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I have the Loudmouth Report with Tennis Instead, my collaborator. Yeah, we actually had Charlie as a guest on that. So.
Yep. That was fun getting to go do that. I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I sat there while Dan set up. I'm like, this is cool. I get used to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my setup's a little simpler than what you see here. It's a little bit different production level.
Yeah, it was cool. It worked. I liked it.
Yeah, Charlie got to show up and yell for an hour, so I think that's the part that he really liked.
Yes. Just talk shit.
Yeah. And it's fun too because on that show we have the perspective of other entertainers too. We have actors and comedians and writers and some of that mixed in with the musicians. I bring in a lot of the music crowd for that one.
Cool.
So, but let's talk now. Speaking of music and crowds, the reason that we know you is because you are a very busy promoter and event organizer around Los Angeles.
Yes, sir.
So tell me a little bit about that.
So basically what I do is I scout talent. I find like an artist, and then I find the venue, work out the deal, get the show booked, and basically run the whole show. And a lot of times I end up running my own sound as well.
That's it? That's all you do?
That's it.
That's only like 72 jobs.
I'm basically sprinting all the time.
How many venues are you doing stuff for now?
Now I'm doing 3. 2 of them which are actually bookings, and then the other one is more of just like a managerial project for a cover band that we do on Friday afternoons. So 2 that are really just like, the whole talent buying process and the sound and all that stuff. So, but yeah, so a little bit's changed since the last time that we talked venue-wise, and it happens. There's a lot of turnovers and stuff. There's I have this one downtown at the spot called the Love Song, and it's the Regent's Connecting Bar.
Oh,
So,
nice.
Yeah, it's basically
I've been there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my Tuesday night. I do it every other Tuesday, and
Okay.
then this spot called Now Boarding in West Hollywood.
Oh,
And
very
that's,
cool.
And that's kind of like a '60s style like pilot bar.
Oh,
So
cool.
Everything is
That's
designed-
rad.
Everything is designed like 60s air travel. So,
Oh, that is cool.
I was actually thinking that's what it would be. That's
Yeah, yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Like
It's
the
really
old
cool.
school flight attendants and everybody's.
Yeah,
does everybody
yeah.
dress up like the way people used to
the-
dress up for planes?
There's the times that I've been there, there's only been male bartenders, but they do have like the pilot like shirts and
that's
stuff
awesome.
on, and yeah. So I don't know if the female bartenders dress like flight attendants or not, but yeah, it's the
I have to check that out. That
yeah.
sounds really cool.
It's really
actually.
cool, and all the whole menu is like designed after like airplane stuff, things like that. So it's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you're booking these shows and organizing it, is there a lot of like mixing and matching? Do you get like 20 artists get in touch with you and you have to go, all right, these are the ones, or is it more they come to you and say, hey, we have like these 3 great bands that are friends and we want to do something?
Let me tell you, I kind of get in moods. It's like really weird when I book. Like so sometimes I just want to stack a lineup and I just want it mix match like crazy. I want there to be a completely just weird crowd there, like just different people. And then other times I'm like, okay, I really want this to be like a rock show, or and that seems to be like what's happening more so now. But yeah, it just really depends on like how I'm feeling about a certain show or a certain venue.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're almost like a songwriter yourself in that. It's like, what
did-
am I in the mood for?
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to play.
Well, I started off as a songwriter. Like I came out here and I was writing a lot, and then sort of found out that wasn't really my thing, and then I started recording, and then got into live sound, and the live sound led to talent buying. So I've sort of been around it enough to like, I guess my relationship with the artist is more on a songwriting level, like I got a songwriter level. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what are for bands that are interested in working with you and contacting you, what are some important tips to get booked at one of your shows?
I think the big thing for me now is like I really don't read through like EPKs, and I feel like nobody does that anymore. It's like one of those things, the quicker the submission, the better. So it's like, hey, I'm a band. Here's my songs. Here's my live show. So like maybe a couple links, and then what obviously like draw capability and stuff like that.
So rather than like some big EPK hoop-de-hoot thing, you just want quick
It's-
links and a quick explanation, and that's...
And for me, it's like it sounds bad. It sounds like I don't want to get to know the artist, but my big thing is that like I want to see the artist first. I want to see them live or whatever, and then get to know them as we work together, rather than having to like read this long thing, because a lot of times it can be misleading. So I'd rather kind of cut to the chase, try them out at a show, and then we build that relationship from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a very quick, like, this is what we're about, and then you kind of give them the audition show, and then you go from there.
I love phone calls too. It's like one of those things, like if you text me, set up a phone call.
What's that?
Yeah. I love that. I love being able to talk to artists if they want to.
Interesting, because in the era of text-only communications with these phones, the fact that you want a phone call is actually kind of
I
interesting.
love picking up the phone
Me
and talking
too,
to
man.
somebody,
It's
man.
great.
I do too.
And you really get the vibe of an artist. The best experiences for shows that I've ever had were the ones where I was able to talk to an artist for 15, 20 minutes prior, like weeks before the show, where we were able to really talk about what they wanted from the show and what we were going to be able to do.
I mean, that's going to tell you more than any email or even a link to a video is going to tell you.
I really don't like emails. It's like one of those things that I think for talent buyers, they get forced into it. So people, they're like, you have to have an email, you have to have like the business card and stuff like that. But for me, I really love having a one-on-one relationship with whoever I'm working with.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a business where the personal connections mean everything.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
yeah. So now, when you are, do you try to book all size venues? Do you stick with like the two that you just mentioned exclusively, or what? How,
I mean, ideally, at the end of the day, I would love to be booking the Wiltern, but
Right,
it's
obviously.
like it's. But for the most part, I find the venue that's sort of based on what I think that I'm capable of at the current moment. So
Right.
like right now, the venues that I have are about 150 plus.
Okay.
Never really more than 200. The Love Song is real small.
Right.
Now Boarding's a little bit bigger. But yeah, I try to keep it small because when you walk into like a songwriter night, you want it to kind of be very chill, casual, and create an environment where people are really listening. If the bar's too big, there's too much going on, so then it makes it hard.
And it gets noisy.
Yeah, it does. So.
Yeah, so your shows are very focused on showcasing the actual music. It's not just let's pack the place.
I would say so, yeah, and like, but not to an extent where you walk in and you have to whisper. Like people walk in and they have quiet conversation, but they know that it's not a rowdy thing. You know, you can go up and order a drink at the bar in the middle of somebody's set, and no one's gonna be judging you or anything like that. I definitely don't want the shows to give off that vibe because it is. To me, I consider it a party as well. Because after the shows are over, in between sets, I like people to like hang out and mingle and talk to each other in a non-threatening type environment.
Yeah. Or is it still called the Spotlight Sessions?
Yeah.
Or okay.
That's still the name of the brand. The venues hop around, things happen.
Right.
But yeah.
So if you're looking at shows, ladies and gentlemen, and if you're in Los Angeles, the Spotlight Sessions are run by Jared. So, you know what to expect here.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit what you've been up to lately?
Basically this, I sort of did a kind of like a revamp pretty much. I kind of got into a little rut, lost some venues, certain things happened. I mean, this has just been happening in the course of, the time that I've been doing this. But so I sort of sat down and I was like, I don't want to do any shows for like a month. I just kind of want to sit down and figure out. I know that I want to keep booking. I know I want to keep doing that, but I want to figure out exactly the best possible way that works for me and the artist.
Right.
And it's small market booking, so the thing is everything has to be done on a small budget and
in a major city with a lot of competition.
Exactly. So it was really about finding the right places, and I'm going to shout out Nino right now because Nino actually hooked me up with the guys who do the Love Song downtown.
Nice.
So he actually was able to link me up with them, and then we were able to lock that one in, and then now Boarding came through another promoter that I work with. So the idea now is basically working with at least one or two different people to kind of like help build a night rather than trying to do it all myself.
Right.
The booking is so important for me and like building those relationships with those artists that it's always been difficult for me to like get bodies in the door.
Right.
So now it's like having other people helping out.
Charlie knows a little something about having a team around to help put a show on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Having everybody be invested in it is definitely
it makes life easier.
That's a really good word. I use it all the time. It's just like people who are invested into what we're doing, because it really is. It's a community. It's a communal like process, I guess.
Yeah, we had Scumlove on the show a couple of months ago, and he's also a promoter. He puts events together, and he plays in bands and all this. And he really stressed the importance of being invested in the project and picking the right people, and just how much community work is involved in doing this kind of thing.
Like I said, I mean, you gotta love it, and you can really tell if somebody doesn't love it because there's not you're not
it's sloppy.
Oh yeah,
you have to do a lot to make a lot. And if you're not really putting any effort into it, you're probably not making any money, and you can tell.
Yeah.
And that's,
I feel there's a lot of promoters. I mean, all over, but in this town especially, that are like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a common misconception where it's like you book the bands and the people will come, and it's just like how you can just walk around and say there's live music at this venue and it's just gonna happen. Like people are just gonna show up and go crazy. But it's nuts. There's just so much more that goes into it, and I think in smaller towns, you can advertise live music at a bar and tons of people will show up.
Especially if there's only like 3 bars in the town and only one of them has music.
There's only one town I think that's worse than LA when it comes to that, and it's probably Nashville. Where like I was joking with somebody the other day about how like musicians in Nashville, like the only people at their shows are other musicians that I made a deal with. They were like, if you come to my show, I'll go to
your
yours.
show.
And it's like I don't like that kind of crowd. Like I want people to show up not only to support their friends that might be playing, but also like building a crowd, building a fan base as well, and seeing some of those people. When I book an artist multiple times, I see certain people that may have saw them the first time that came back to see them again.
Yeah, cross promotion is really important.
It's
like,
huge,
if you have bands, especially that either are a similar style or a similar vibe, it's,
right.
The audience starts to go, oh, those shows are good. There's always 2 or 3 good bands, or sometimes more, depending on what kind of show we're talking about. Whereas if you're just going to see your friend play, you're gonna show up for 10 minutes before they go on, and then you're out as soon as they finish.
Yeah,
and that's not something a music promoter wants to deal with. They want
Absolutely not.
everyone to show up early, stay late, buy drinks, bring their friends out. And it sounds
I've
like
been the guy that shows up 10 minutes before.
yeah, I think every musician has at some point. But
Yep.
I definitely get more excited about the shows where there's more than one band that I'm excited to see.
Right.
I'm like, I will be there.
There's
Like,
a disclaimer in my in a lot of the the info and stuff that I send out to artists before shows. I'll send out like a group text, and it'll basically say, we encourage you to show up when the show starts and stay there until the show ends, and we encourage you to encourage your guests to do the same. So if you're inviting people to come out, encourage them that it's not just you that's playing, but it's an experience.
Totally.
And that really helps, and it sort of creates that environment where people, when they go to the show, they know that it's not just, they're not just there to hang out with their friend and see them like play a couple songs. It's like a whole experience.
Right.
That's one of those little things that can go a long way, because if you're, you get something like that and you're like, oh, the promoter actually gives a shit. Okay.
Right.
I know for me as a musician, I see that and I'm like, all right,
We all
So-
know what it's like going into that dull bar on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and it's just you just know that the promoter did a shitty job.
Well, the other thing is, at least the gigs that I've gone to, you're on site, you're there, and that makes a huge difference. You know?
Yeah, you're really active in what you're doing,
I've worked with a lot of promoters, like doing like sort of joint shows where I did one a few weeks ago where the promoter never showed up.
That's just
We were in emails for like weeks and weeks and weeks, and then the promoters didn't show up to the show. All the artists and stuff showed up, I'm sure, and everything, but it was just kind of a mess. It was weird.
Yeah,
How do you put on a show and then not show up for the show
Promoters
that
do
you're
it. You'd be surprised. Promoters do it all the time.
I
They
wouldn't
literally
be.
they book the entire
Man.
thing. They send out all the emails, and you wonder, like, because in the emails they seem so like uptight about it, and they're trying to make sure everything's right and in order. And it's always so surprising to me, and I realize, and I think to myself, they're not going to be there. That's why they're so like
they just
they're
want
so-
their money.
Yeah, and they're trying to make sure all this stuff is in order, that these people are bringing people, and then like they just don't go. But the entire show, they're sending texts out and calling people like, is everybody there? It's like, just go find out. Like, go to your show.
exactly.
At least stop by your show.
Exactly. Stop by, shake some hands.
All of
Yeah.
my favorite promoters in LA are at the shows. Scum goes to the shows that he
Yep.
puts together. Dan and Eric at Church of the Eighth Day do their shows. They're there.
And that's the other thing.
What if you and I didn't show up for the Toys for Tots?
Oh, that would
I'll
be
just leave it with
terrible.
Ernesto.
Well, I think a lot of your gear might get stolen. Is the first thing.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. What
We would be doing the next year's music chamber like the way I do the Loudmouth Report. Like all this is out of here.
Yeah. But that's what we were talking about too, though, about being invested in what you do. And I think promoters, just like a musician is very invested in their art, And if a promoter, for me, I treat this like an art. It's like one of those things, being able to build these events. And if you're not invested into it, if you're not showing up to your own gigs, then you're not doing it right.
Well, it also tells you a lot about like how these bands are getting booked. It's like if the
Right.
promoter's not at the show that he or
Yeah.
she put together, it's like, do you want to do this?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you're not one of those people. Thank you again
Yeah.
for doing that for the music
course.
community. All right. So now let's talk about. It's very easy if you're a musician. I'm guilty of this myself, to look at a promoter for a show and go, "Fucking promoter!" like they don't really,
I do that to myself. It's
They're
okay.
making money off me. They're making me show up at 2 hours early. And but there's a side of it that you have to deal with as well.
Right.
And the one I really want to get into now is dealing with venue owners. Like
Okay.
what kind of pressure is on you at these kind of shows? Do they want like guarantee X amount of dollars, or you're gonna pay it, or is
Yeah.
it more like we'll give you a Tuesday, and if you do well, we'll bring you back on Thursday?
I strictly don't do pay to play for that specific reason. I don't like to deal with any of that stuff. So mainly my deal when I go work out stuff with venue owners is, if it's a free show, I try to work out a flat that I can take from the bar.
Right.
That way, because throughout the entire
Free
night,
meaning you're doing it for free, not getting some sort of money from them.
no, I mean like there's a free cover. So you
Oh,
don't have
free
to-
cover. Okay,
there's
yeah,
no,
yeah.
There's no. So if it's a free show, then I ask for basically the artist to bring at least 10 to 15 people, depending on what the venue is. So if we book like 5 artists, we want them to bring at least 10 to 15, and that way, and we do the thing where we want everybody to show up in the beginning and stay till the end, and that way
Right.
we kind of have roughly around 50 to 60 people there throughout the entire night. So I'll do something like that where they have to bring 10 people and then they'll get like $50 out of it or something like that. You know,
Right.
something simple if it's a small show like that. The bigger shows, it'll be, you know, we'll charge a cover and then there's just no cap on what the artist can make. So in a sense, it's like I'm helping them promote, but they're also promoting themselves. So they're getting paid for promotion.
Right. So if there's like a per head kind of count or something
Right.
like that, the more people that are there, the more money there is for them.
But there's no punishment if they don't bring, you know, 10 people. And typically, like, I'm really generous when it comes to it. Like, so if like they show up with 9 people, I'm not gonna like not get them paid. You know, it's just like one of those things.
Right.
You just want to see that they're pushing and then they're promoting their art, because at the end of the day, like that's what it's about.
Yeah. Now, how would you measure that? This is something that I know I've dealt with in my own bands and the shows that I've put on. What do you measure how much work the artist is doing? Do you like watch their social media, or do you call them and go, hey, did you call your friends? Or
Yeah,
like,
no,
I
do. I watch it a lot, and I send out very like nice, like, you know, text messages. But if I haven't seen like a post coming into the day of, I follow up. And sometimes like you won't see an artist post a lot on social media. It'll be one of those things where like they've sent out a lot of texts. Like this last show that I did, I don't think the artist posted one thing on social media, but they brought out the most people. It's just sometimes artists are just like that. They know how to do it in other ways. So
right.
But then there's the artists that really just they're posting it every day, you know, and stuff like that. So
right. So I guess the bottom line is, if you work, especially like you talked about, building a long-term relationship with these artists, if they're not doing something you can measure, but they're bringing the people,
right,
then you don't really have to worry as much.
I don't tell them how to promote. Like
right.
that's, I mean, because for me, it's if I tell them one thing, that might not be the best way for them to do it. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that also works for both of you that way, too, because
Absolutely,
if each artist has their own way of promoting the show, then the crowd that's there is kind of like a combination of different scenes and crowds and whatever.
It's always interesting because I only recently started using the term like promoter, because I feel like for me it's just more of like an organizer, you know. So like I'm sort of like their cheerleader, like, because I think a lot of artists, they book shows and they're so focused on, like, you know, they're so focused on writing those songs, practicing those songs, and playing a good show that they forget about the promotional aspect of the show. It's like, because at the end of the day, you don't want to play for 2 people.
Right. Nobody does.
So for me, it's like, hey, did you remember to post today? Did you remember to, like, you know, text these people? Like, and that's how we kind of get going. But and then I have like my group of people that come out as well. So it certainly helps.
All right. What's one of your favorite things about doing all of this work?
I think I just talked about it today, actually. I think my favorite thing is being able to do an artist's first show, and then being able to do their show 10 shows from then, you know, and then seeing how much they've grown in that. And when it's an artist that's really worked hard, you know, and it's one of those artists that you just see them every day grinding, like posting about what they're doing, they're investing into their products, you know, they're putting money into a studio, everything, getting all that stuff done, and like seeing them build that full package, and then me being able to be a part of that sort of process in the live aspect.
It's development. That's what it is.
Yeah, the development is just amazing. And I think I've always kind of wanted to get into like A&R work, where it was like artist development through like getting artists signed and stuff. But I think this is probably where I ended up, like, this is the part that I ended up falling in love with, is doing the live aspect, you know.
The other thing that's good about what you're doing here versus A&R, I work for a record label, so I'm around this. When you are an A&R person, your job is to get bands to sign to the label that are going to make the label money.
Right.
Whereas what you're doing is you're helping develop a career. Now, in a lot of cases, a record label is not going to sign a band that's not developed already. They're going to want to slide them into their way of doing things, hit a bigger audience, and then the money comes in.
Yeah.
Whereas what you're doing is you're kind of helping them build who they are, you know, what kind of show they do, the kind of music that they, you know, are presenting. So you have a more hands-on, direct day-to-day kind of relationship with these artists by doing shows that they actually have to show up for.
Right.
You know, with a label, you might not talk to a band for a while after they sign that deal.
True, yeah.
You know, and then your job is not keep an eye on them. Your job is go find another one.
Yeah.
You know,
and then you're dealing with managers and all
and
that
then
other stuff too,
other departments after the A&R people sign them start taking over. Like now they have to deal with the product managers and the promotion department, the publicity department, the video department, and it's like you basically call just to check in at that point. Whereas if you keep working on these shows, you get to see them and you get to watch them develop.
And I think the cool thing too is that as my career progresses, these artists' careers are progressing as well. So there's always that opportunity where if that artist makes a big break, then I might be in the position to take care of them on the live aspect if they get that big break. So it's up to me to work just as hard as they are. That way I'm still on their level whenever, you know, as they progress.
How often do you bring artists back?
A lot. I mean, I wouldn't obviously wouldn't do it week after week, but I mean, if it's an artist that I really like, that I feel like really works hard, yeah, I bring them back. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So what would you say is a good amount of times for an artist to be playing around town, like for you to book them? Do you want the artist that's playing every month, or do you want somebody who's taking some time between? You want someone who's part of a tour?
It really depends, because like some of these artists out here have just such crazy cult followings where like they could literally play every night and their fans would be there every night. It's just it's nuts.
Wow, that's cool.
That must
yeah.
be fun.
I mean, in some situations, it's like their friends don't really like their music that much. They just have a lot of friends, and like they're like, "Yo, we're gonna go out and drink tonight. Like, here's where we're going, and I'm playing. So like, let's do that." But for the most part, I like to keep it probably like a month at a time. If I see an artist that's playing once a month, that means they're usually investing themselves really hard once a month into their live show, which is cool.
Yeah. And then you know that they're out there playing in front of other audiences that they can draw from as well.
That's the hard part. Is a lot of times it's easy to get stuck with just your friends coming out. So finding a place where you get in front of new people to build that audience.
I tell you what, man. Like there are shows where I've had 15 people in the room, like when I first started, that were way better than shows where there was a band with like 50 of his friends in the room, because they're just like obnoxious, and they don't care about what their friends doing. They're not really fans. They're just there to like hang out.
Right.
My favorite shows are the ones where like the artists the fans are invested into the show as well. So
yeah. So what is considered at the level of the shows that you book a good night? Like what is like, that was a good draw, there was enough people, it was
it really is. It's kind of half draw and half energy.
Okay.
So like what I was just saying, it's like sometimes the crowd might be smaller, but you feel the energy and the crowd is into it. But for the most part, for like a now boarding show, like usually if we get 70 people into that place and they're like really into it and people are like really listening, enjoying themselves, that's kind of what I go for there.
Right.
Downtown, I mean, we could put 40 people in that room and it looks packed. So yeah,
okay.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that's good for you as well too, because then you know who to put on the shows based
Absolutely.
on, especially if you said you like working with the same artists all the time, you'll know this one's good for 20, this one's good for 40,
Exactly.
this one's good for 10 or 15 because they're new. Like there's a lot of that too,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I have to update it, but like I used to have like an Excel sheet with all of that stuff in there. So basically like
Smart.
Like it was basically average draw of an artist if the artist was good. Like if the kind of personality that the artist had, if they were easy to work with. We used to kind of all that.
I complain endlessly about spreadsheets, but I also use them for everything.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I hate working in Excel, but yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah,
sure.
I've used the Google Sheets too, and I've used what's the Apple one called? Numbers, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That comes in handy with recording stuff for me because I can't remember what menu everything is under. So I've got my spreadsheet.
Anything that I
sheet.
can do on my iPhone is just it's the best.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Charlie, questions? I can keep going, but
keep going. This is good. This is good.
I thought I saw you go.
No.
I feel
Trust
like I've been
me.
looking over here
That's all right. Fine. You want to ignore me?
Yeah. So what's one of the biggest challenges you have as a promoter with these bands and the venues? Like, is it more challenging to deal with an artist or more challenging to deal with venues, or is there is each one different?
The venue's basically just. That can get complicated if the show's not doing well. But I mean, for the most part, that's business is business. Like we were talking sports earlier. If usually players they're not bitter when they leave a team. They're just they understand they weren't performing in the way that they were supposed to or whatever. So like that's sort of how venue owners look at me. Like if the show's doing bad, they tell me like, look, the numbers are bad. We can't continue to keep doing this, and then I move on and I try to better myself and figure it out.
Yeah.
So for me, I think the hardest part is dealing with artists in the sense of like artists with bad attitudes. I talked to somebody recently about this.
That sounds familiar, huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a thing about certain artists. The ones that are the most successful are the ones that can literally work under any condition.
Yeah.
So and they can work with anybody. But there's consistently artists that just it is impossible to get them linked. I have artists that send me things where like I can't work with this person. I can't work with this person. I had a bad experience with this venue, so I can't do this. So I think that's the big issue too. And then artists that also they want to play.
They send you their list of demands, basically.
I want
you to book my show, but I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this.
It's on a personal level. There's certain artists where like they know that I know certain people, so they want to make sure that they're not around certain people and stuff like that. And I really don't have time for it, and it's just like I can't deal with that. But then there's also
delete.
The biggest issue that I have is because I work really hard to make sure that these people are coming out to these shows and stuff like that. The biggest problem that I have, I think, is artists that they think that I'm supposed to bring everybody out, and I'm just supposed to create this entire show.
Well, you're the promoter. Where's my fans?
I know. So I mean, and the thing is,
where's my Ferrari?
But like I said, it's small market booking. So for me, there's not a crazy budget that goes into it. So when I work with artists, I go into it saying like, look, I'm going to put in this much work, and I need you to put in this much work, and we need to do this together. We need to build this night together, because at the end of the day, we're basically all making the same amount of money.
Right.
So and in most cases, they make more money than I do. So and I'm making that happen for them.
Wait. You make less money than the band? You're doing it wrong.
I know, right?
So you got this all backwards, man.
I know.
Yeah, man.
I know.
Come on.
But that's sort of the biggest issue that I have, is that there's a lot of artists that I never did understand why you want to play live if you're not trying to build a fan base, and that's such an important thing. And I'm not saying that the reason why I push to get people in there is to make it to where there's new ears for the for those
totally.
artists. But at the same time, they need to be pushing their show and bringing their fans out as well to keep that going for them. So that's frustrating. It does get a little.
Yeah, I found that in my own experience, the artists that are the most difficult to deal with are not the superstars and not the new bands who are excited about. It's the ones in the middle who've had just a little bit of a taste, and now they start with the I can't do this, and I don't want this person there, and I don't want it's really
they read
weird.
a book somewhere that Eddie Van Halen only got brown M&Ms or whatever, and now they think that's what they need to do.
They've been in LA for 12 years playing coffee shops, and they haven't been able to get to that next level yet.
Yeah, or there's just you end up dealing with the entitlement thing, like, oh, I'm the band and I bought this many people already, and it's like, it's a consistently changing business. You have
really
to do this all the time.
I mean, for me, this is a conversation that I always have, and it's a conversation that I had with an old friend of mine. But you have to create a price tag for your art. So the thing is, you don't just write a good song and expect it to be worth something. When you start a business, it takes 5 years for you to make money, typically, right? If you start
3 if you're lucky.
3 if you're lucky, right? So the thing is, just because you put out a good product doesn't mean that it's in demand. So the thing is, for you to come to me and say that my art is worth this much when you don't have anybody around you saying that it's worth anything, it doesn't mean that you're not good. It just means that there's no demand for it.
There's no standard.
And
to
I'm willing
to
help, but you have to work just as hard as I am to do that.
It's an important point.
Because at the end of the day, they're not hiring me. Like we're going into this together and taking our percentage cut. So if the artist came to me and said, here's $500, pack a room for me, done. Like that's gonna happen, but that's not how it works.
Yeah, it's also a pressure cooker situation too, because you have like a small business venture that you're in that's over in a couple of weeks. Like once the show's done, that's it.
Exactly.
So it's like you really do have to capitalize on whatever you can during that time.
Right.
Time management is huge with music, and we're all bad at it.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm awesome.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Let's get back to the conversation. Dude, I just want to give a quick shout out here. We have all over. We got Rajah from Bangladesh watching.
Oh, wow.
John down in Santa Monica.
Anybody have bad things to say about me?
No, not yet.
Okay, all right.
I'm sure we'll get something. I'll get something at some point,
Yeah,
then we've got Austria in the house as well.
We have Germany in the house, too. My friend Laura's watching. Hey, Laura.
Nice.
And Louise is watching us from San Francisco. What's up, Louise?
And the Sonic Solution has a great little piece of advice here. Anybody hit that like button for us on YouTube. It helps push it out, and the YouTube algorithms will grab it.
Yep, same goes for the Facebook
push it
feed.
out.
I think the last time we did this show, I think we only had one viewer during the time that we were doing
There's
it.
a really good reason for that. No one could hear a thing.
Yeah.
And that one viewer, I think he commented, said, I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
Still watching, though.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, now we have the multiple platforms.
Illinois, Yeti in Illinois.
All right.
Oh, very cool.
Illinois. Where the hell am I from? He's
It's
over in Illinois.
It's noisy in here.
He's down in Arkansas.
Well, you're from Kansas, yeah?
I'm from Kansas. English isn't my first language.
No, we've had this conversation before. It keeps coming up.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So now, when you are employing advertising tactics for these shows, because clearly a lot of this is falling on you.
Yes.
Are you physically distributing flyers and mailers, and or is that totally gone now and it's all online? Or
every day I wake up and I'm like, I'm gonna go to Kinko's and print out 100 flyers and pass them around to people in the street. But for some reason, I just never have that motivation because I feel like it's not going to do anything. But, I mean, there's certain stuff. Like, we have this new Friday show, but it's like a cover band. So it's like a consistent thing every Friday. It's the same thing. They do like a top 40 mashup.
Okay.
So that one is something that I might start doing because it's on Hollywood Boulevard.
Right.
So if there's a tourist situation, the handing out flyers can kind of work because
Right.
you know, you're kind of catching people that are only there for a week or whatever, and they're trying to look for something to do that day. But for the most part, for like the smaller shows, it really is condensed to the fan base, and all of them are on, you know, Instagram, Facebook, and stuff like that. So I would invest more money into like a Facebook ad or something like that than I would for
The reach is pretty interesting on those ads.
you know. Yeah, I was reading. I gotta like finish reading it, but I was reading something today about like how crazy the algorithms are as far as like your Facebook ads and who it reaches out to and everything. So
Yeah. Charlie's done a bit of that with
Man,
the
I've
studio.
never had a whole lot of luck.
Yeah.
No?
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
A few times, you know, there's been a few extra views on a video or a couple likes, but it's never turned into whatever it was I was promoting.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it just
Boosted posts are interesting. Some of them have done some really big things for the projects I've worked on, and other ones were like, I just threw that money away.
Yeah, and it's like at the end of the day, what does a like get you? You know, and it's like wasn't it Conan O'Brien that like a while back he did this thing with his team that was basically he was trying to figure out how much money one retweet would be worth. So like if you were on Twitter, like how much like if you broke it down, like how you could monetize one like retweet.
You know, there's a thing called Social Blue Book that helps actually figure those kind of things out.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yep, and same thing like if you're a YouTuber with how many viewers you have, how many subscribers, all that. It gives you a breakdown of what certain things are worth.
Yeah.
A
Social-
shout out, a mention.
I mean,
that
think
thing.
about how many times a day that you like something on Facebook that you didn't even look at. Like it was like you liked it because you were like supporting your friend or like you were doing something like that, but like you never really looked into what it was about.
I've liked videos that I didn't even listen or watch. I just scrolled a bit and went, oh, interesting. Like
I do
scroll.
I
sometimes.
did that. I need to watch this video, but I totally did that with the Chad Smith with the marching band video.
Oh, dude, you got to watch that one. It's
Because
awesome.
I felt like without having the volume turned all the way up, I could hear him because he's so.
Oh my, yeah, that was the same thing here. Yeah,
I did. I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, Chad, I promise I'll watch
that's
that later.
KU, my stomping grounds. There.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
that's
I didn't go to college. I used to.
I
go to
do
the city.
sometimes. I share videos to watch.
But
later.
did you drink at the college?
Oh yes.
So you did go there.
Many
You just didn't attend
times.
classes
Yeah.
there.
Yes.
Yeah, but no.
It's okay.
Sometimes I'll share a video to watch it later. Like
Right.
if I'm like in a place where I can't watch it, you know, I'll share it that way because things get lost in your feed. So that's
They have a save option too, which I've done a few times.
Yeah,
you know,
I
like
saw that.
especially on Facebook, and also there's the watch later on YouTube. I do that all the time when I'm like, that's awesome. I don't have time right now.
Right.
So it goes into my.
I saw that. That's like a new thing that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the platforms are really influencing each other that way because
Yeah.
Facebook used to not have that, and then I
Right.
noticed it and said, I'm going to start using this.
It's all one
Yeah.
big thing now. It's just the social media.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I think with the advertising, it's like anything. It's all about consistency.
Yeah.
Because, you know, okay, it's back to what does a like actually get you?
Right.
But if you have 6 months of that and all of a sudden now your brand, or I know Dan loves that word, gets, name or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
gets more known, that
Right.
becomes something at a certain point. But if you can't afford to consistently advertise, like I've never, even with the studio, had a budget where I could say for 6 months straight I was consistently advertising. It's always a boosted thing here, or a little bit there, a little bit there, and that's really hard to get traction.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy too to think about like the way social media works and that like it's all about being annoying but not being too annoying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's like
Yeah.
finding that level ground of like sharing stuff enough, like boosting the posts enough to where people are seeing it enough, but not to where they're like, I'm gonna unfollow this guy because he's annoying the shit out of me. You know, like
Yeah.
But you almost have to toe that line, because if you don't consistently share and reshare,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm guilty of, oh man, I don't want to do it too much, and that's
Right.
just the wrong thing to do,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
especially on Facebook, that feed just moves so quickly.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that if you don't reshare it 5, 6, 7, 10
That's true.
times, whatever,
Yeah.
people will miss it. Same with Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a lot of competing for attention in that space,
Mhm.
and it's increasingly monitored and changed, and the things are all over the place. Like what I have not been able to figure out Instagram at all in terms of what gets shown, because I'll see something that happened an hour ago, and
Yeah.
then something from 4 days ago, and then
Right.
something from
Well,
yesterday,
they've
and I'm like,
they changed
what?
that. Yeah, they changed that. What was it, a couple years ago, or maybe less than that? But how like it used to just be like you posted something and it was posted in the timeline that everything was posted, but now you just see things. You know, if you don't get on Instagram for a while, you're gonna be seeing stuff from like a week ago. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Right.
But I'm on it almost every day for
Yeah.
a couple of times a day, and it's like, here's from today and yesterday
Yeah.
and an hour ago and 4 days ago.
It's just
like,
if you didn't get there, if you didn't see that post yet, you know,
Yeah.
then you're not. Then it's going to show up. You know.
so
whenever.
that's what it is.
Right. It's just making sure that you see things that you like more often. It's all about the algorithm.
Oh,
you know?
the algorithm definitely
Right.
has me figured out. I get a lot of the same kind of things, so
Right.
they've done a great job with that. But
it also sucks.
it's weird when I
because-
see like a highlight from a hockey game that was over 3 days ago now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, I saw that. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks because like there's some people that I lose touch with, and then I'm never reminded that they're still alive, and I expect social media to do that for me. I want to see their picture, even though I haven't liked anything from them in a while. You know,
I'm pretty sure I forgot everybody's birthday. Including mine.
Yeah.
I know it's soon. That's all I
Isn't
remember.
that crazy though? We rely on like Facebook for people's birthdays now. I'm guilty of it. Like
They were-
some of the closest people in my life, like Facebook reminds me that it's their birthday, and I'm just like,
It's part of this is the information overload era that we're in.
Yeah.
Where it's like
that's
know,
a benefit though, because
Yeah.
nobody can ever say that you forgot their birthday.
Oh yeah. No,
I've
no, no.
always been
Yeah.
bad with birthdays. So.
Yeah.
Charlie's like, listen,
Yeah.
just because we have the computer now doesn't mean I'm gonna remember. I've been
Man,
forgetting
even
your
Yeti here is giving me shit for saying the S in Illinois. I know there's no S in there.
Yes, both
Or you don't
audiences,
pronounce it.
both YouTube and Facebook. If you have questions at all for us, let us know for sure, and we'll get to you. You know, Jared loves his community, as do we. So, anything you have to say, we will respond as fast as we can. Probably Charlie first.
I don't know what that
You've done a
means.
good job with that. Like Charlie's development of his own social media community, especially on YouTube, has been excellent. Like you're at 5,000 subscribers now, is
Wow.
5,500,
it? Nice.
56.
I think
In the last month and a half, I've been so busy here. We've done how many broadcasts have we done in the last month and a half? One. We did the guitar one.
Charlie's looking
Right?
at Ernesto for those of you who are looking at him.
How many
like, what's this?
broadcasts we do in the last month and a half? Just the guitar one, right? Yeah, and then Wednesday I had issues. I'll do another one tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, it's been, except for the last like month and a half, it was really consistent.
Everybody's trying to get their records done before Christmas.
Exactly.
That's what's going on with that. But,
But
yeah,
that's that goes back to the consistency thing. It's the same with advertising or anything, it's or trying to promote a show or
Right.
whatever. The more, if you're constantly doing it or consistently doing it,
Yeah.
it bears fruit over time.
It's
Yeah.
crazy how something so simple can be so hard for us to like get motivated to do as well. And I noticed that like using social media to promote stuff, like I sometimes like I think about it and I'm like, wow, this is so easy. I'm just gonna make this flyer and post it. But then it's like so many different things going on, and I'm like, wow, I haven't even gotten around to posting that flyer yet.
Yeah.
It's just because it's right there. It's so easy for us to say, okay, I'll do it in like an hour.
right.
Because
Yeah,
it's
that's
so
true.
easy.
The simplicity of the process makes you
Right.
think you can just do it whenever, so you just don't
Yeah.
ever do it. Yeah. I'm guilty of that.
So it's,
I've done that.
I try to write out a schedule, and that helps. But it's
Yes.
not always easy keeping it all up here. But
Yeah, I live and die by the calendar in my phone.
Yeah.
That controls my life.
Yeah.
I have alerts and reminders for everything, especially if I'm doing a show, like if Cliff Amal has a show or I'm playing with somebody. Constant reminders.
Yeah.
It's the best way to do it. And then I also
I'm terrible with that.
no. You must map out your dates though. Like you must have this session is on Thursday from 12 to
Well,
6.
that
and
I
then
do,
this one-
yeah.
So
But the rest of it is just whatever. I get up that day and go, what needs to get done?
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll write it down. Sometimes I'll just pick the first thing and I just start going.
yeah,
that's
until
an
it's like 4 a.m.
Entrepreneurs have that issue though because every day is a little different for you. See, when you work for a company like I do, it's okay. I know what's going to happen for
Right,
this part of
right.
the day. My trick is I get home from that and I got to make sure that I put my hand in every pie. It's like okay, I got to work on my Conflict 1-0 record, and then I got to do something for the music chamber, and then I got to do the loudmouth report,
Right.
and then
you never finish anything and then
Yeah.
go to the next thing. It's just you're working on a bunch of things at once.
yeah.
I hate working that way. I'm
Yeah.
I like to get it
You
done.
like grind and get it done.
Yeah,
I
I'll
get-
sit
I
for
get like that,
15
too.
hours until it's finished so I
Yeah.
can move on. I hate shit.
That's the
know.
the really aggravating thing about booking is
Yeah.
that like I go into like a day, like I'll wake up on a Monday and Monday is just mad booking day for me. That's just what I do. I'll wake up and be like, I'm gonna book this entire show today. But the thing about booking is that you have to rely on other people to respond. So when you
Yeah.
can't grind whenever you're just like waiting for all these people to get back to you. It's hard to just put everything in order. So what the best thing for me to do is I just get everything else with the show in order, and then the booking is like the last part. So. But that's tough.
Yeah, coordinating a lot of people's schedules. Charlie and I have that experience.
I miss
Yep.
being like a zombie in the studio though when I used to record. Like that was just the best because you could just. I mean, I would like look away from the screen and realize it was like 6 a.m. and I had just finished something that that I've been working on all night. But
That's me about every day.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like to grind through something when I know there's either only so much time to do it or it's a mission critical thing.
Right.
Like tracking drums, like it has to get done. And I usually, in my bands, it's you get a day or you get 2 days, and it's like so.
And that I mean that can teach you so much in your craft to be able to do something like that in such on a time limit,
Yeah, and especially when I know it's coming, like I go into like Olympic training mode. I'm like, all right, every day for the next 2 months, I'm going to play for 2 hours a day minimum, and longer on weekends because I've only got so much time to prepare. Yeah. And then when I get in the studio, I want to just slam right into it.
When I was recording, we had I think I did 2 sessions with drummers that it was awful because the drummers came completely unprepared. It's like they wrote the parts, but they didn't practice the parts that they wrote.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're talking about an hour studio session that took 4 hours, things like that. Like, and it's all of that's money.
There's also coordination. Like another thing that we try to do is, and at least I do, whenever I have a session booked, I make sure I talk to the engineer and producer before and go, okay, what do I need?
Right.
And what time do I need to be there? And,
Yeah.
if it's somewhere that's close in town, is there anything we can do the day before so that we can hit the ground running in the morning? Like that kind of stuff. So I feel like that makes everybody's job easier.
Organization and preparation. That's the key.
Prep.
Prep
I'm
is
not the
huge.
greatest on the organization all the time, but I hate being unprepared for things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've done a fantastic job with that. Your calls are early for all the gigs we do here, and you're always working on something for the next day every night.
Because I learned that the hard way a few times trying to do these shows, going, oh, man, we'll just, I don't want to have anybody show up any earlier than we have to. And then you realize, especially with the show that we're doing, it's a video shoot, recording, session, live broadcast.
And live gig.
And live gig all wrapped up in one. You've got to fucking show up with enough time to do that. There's no walking in and doing a line check and going.
No.
Because as we found, even just the simple podcast with you that one time, one thing and the whole show stops.
Yeah. And that's if you have a skeleton crew. Luckily, Ernesto's here today to save the day.
Yeah, I know. Makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
He's totally ignoring us.
Yeah. What are you listening
the
to,
thing
Ernesto?
is, he's listening to us.
Oh, you know what it is? He's looking at the video stuff. That's why.
It's also 30 seconds behind.
Oh.
So in a second, he'll look over.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. There he goes. And here he comes. There he goes. Nice. Oh, so Louise chimes in here. She needs a reminder for when Cliff Amal is playing. So do I. I will let you know when I know. Hopefully very soon next year. We're working on that.
Cool.
Yeah. You know how it is when you're in a band. Sometimes you have 10 shows in a row, and then suddenly it's like, when's the next show?
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Where do you guys play usually?
We've played a lot at Skinny's up in North Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
Scum has booked us and treated us really well, put us on with great bands.
Okay.
That we've had an awesome playing experience there.
Have to come check that out.
Yeah, I've been reaching out to some new places in other parts of Los Angeles too. I'm trying to get us to play in like the beach cities and down in Orange County and stuff. So I'm trying to find us gigs in other parts of town as well. We've done very well in Hollywood and then lower San Fernando Valley.
Okay.
But it's like we were talking about earlier. Your friends, you're playing for your friends. You're playing for people who know you. You want to branch out a little bit.
Right.
Yep.
Do you guys play on bills with other bands?
Oh yeah.
And
like most of the time, it's at least one or two other bands.
How are do the fan bases stick around for the other bands to watch you guys?
We are very fortunate with this band because old Metallica music is easy to sell in this town. So
gotcha.
when we have other bands play with us, we actually have pretty packed shows.
That's good.
Like,
The last time at Skinny's, the whole night was packed.
Yeah, it was jammed in there.
Jammed.
Yeah, it was. We made an event out of it. Like it was Scum's birthday and Heaven Below played, and they don't play all that often because Patrick is constantly touring with Lita Ford. So it was like they were putting out new records, so their fans are all jazzed up. Everyone of Scum's friends is there for his birthday, and then we play the old Metallica shit that everyone wants to hear, and it was so jammed. It was great. I didn't get a chance to see everybody. Like I had friends who came to that show that I did not see because it was too bad.
That's awesome.
I was like,
those are always fun.
I thanked them later, obviously, but I was
right.
like, dude, that's amazing. I didn't even know you were there. That's nuts, And Skinny's is a good sized venue, but like I should be able to see who's there, and I couldn't. It was just like,
that's cool, man.
yeah,
That's awesome.
it was a good time. That's a fun band to be in.
Yeah.
So, if we played one of your spotlight sessions, though, I'm pretty sure they'd throw you out of the venue and arrest us.
I think. Have you ever been to the Study?
Yes, I have.
I kind of like one-off book there still, so if
Oh, yeah?
that might be a cool spot for you guys for sure.
That would be good, but with those high ceilings, we're so friggin' loud.
Yeah.
Like I've seen Little Empires
Well,
played
the
there a
sound-
few times.
The sound guy, shout out Morrow, is fantastic there.
He is. The sound is
yeah,
great.
He's
And
amazing.
It all depends on the type of band that you are. Like I don't know if you're familiar with Little Empire, but that might be a band you might want to book sometime.
Oh yeah, they'd be
for us.
great for some of your.
Yeah?
Yeah, they've done this show a couple of times and fantastic.
Yeah, and they're great.
And they
people,
also
too.
understand the whole promoting thing.
Okay.
I mean, they're one of the. Of all the bands we work with, they were probably the best at that
Yeah.
consistently.
Cool.
I mean, just on the ball.
They're connected with their audience all the time. They're
Yep.
all over Instagram and Snapchat and
Very cool.
Facebook, and they're
and they rock.
They're awesome musicians and they're great people.
It's fascinating that there's like artists out there that are so good at that they're able to like really focus, and they're good artists. Like they sound great, and they're able to do all that promotion stuff as well. Like it's just being able to keep up with all that stuff.
Yeah, and they play in the areas that you book constantly. So
cool.
I think you two would actually be a good match.
What are they called again?
Little
Little
Empire.
Empire.
Little Empire. Okay.
Yeah, they've we got,
Bankrupt would probably be good for you too.
yes.
Okay.
Good. That would be an awesome.
They're awesome acoustic too.
Yeah?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, their acoustic thing is easily as good as their electric thing.
All right.
The two of them would be an interesting show. Now that I think
Did
about
we,
it.
we never had them on at the same time, did we?
No, they were two different shows.
Oh, we should have done them.
Yeah, we'll
maybe
have to.
next year.
2018.
Yeah.
The thoughts are brewing now.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, both of those bands would
Okay.
be really
I'm gonna
good
have
for
to
your.
get all their information from you guys.
I'll send it to you later.
Okay. Cool.
Yes, for sure. And you can find them online as well. So
Always-
there's no lack of either of those bands.
Yeah. Always love new artists. So.
Yeah, and they love playing. They
Okay.
they will take it serious. That's the thing, bands. You do well, people talk about you. See,
Yeah.
Exactly.
we tell each other about you, and
Right.
hopefully you'll get some more shows and some
And
more
if
money.
you don't do well and you're not nice, we tell people about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not that type of shit talking on this podcast.
No,
Next
that's
time I
behind the scenes, man.
Yeah.
next time I
That's why
come
you
on the
gotta be
show,
cool.
I'm dropping names.
There you go. Okay, so fuck this person and fuck that person.
I'm gonna hold up like a poster.
Can you imagine that? We start bringing in like oak tag paper, like with people's names, and just is a piece of shit.
We
on
start
it.
using it as
We'll
like
get
a background.
We'll
you
get
know?
a ticker running across the bottom.
Oh, a
But
ticker?
that's the reason you've got to be nice. I mean, you've got to be conscious of that because even if it doesn't get called out publicly, it's a small business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
Especially
small.
LA is huge,
Yeah.
but the business very small.
We just have like a fuck you wall back here, and we just keep adding names. Like,
Don't
like,
give him ideas.
I
That's gonna happen
like
now.
we
that
start
idea.
conversation. I get reminded of somebody. I'm like, hold on.
Fuck you all. That's amazing. That is. I'm surprised you don't already have that.
I know.
Because you've got all the drum heads over here.
Yeah.
I know.
Now you have fuck you all on the other
Mess with
side.
the,
That's
it
right,
mess with
yeah.
the panels and everything.
Exactly.
That's all.
Yeah.
Might hurt my return client
Yeah, yeah.
rate.
The other thing is this too. Like this is definitely something that's a longevity business. Like the longer you're in it,
Yeah.
you just start meeting everybody.
It's
Like,
true.
I've had like run-ins at bars with like famous musicians that I just know now.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff because
It's-
I've been at this for so long.
Right.
And that's another thing for bands. Like if you're in a band and you keep changing your name and the style and the songs and everything's different every 6 months to a year, you're never gonna build anything.
You got to stick it
Yeah.
out for a while.
It's really the same on my end as well, which is nuts because like I used to get so discouraged when I would lose a venue, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like it's not about getting discouraged when you lose a venue. It's about being able to like at the end of the road being able to say, "Wow, I did this venue for a year successfully before it took its dive," which is
Yeah.
great because you go into it knowing that it's going to eventually die because everything loses its popularity and then you move on. But when you move on to that new venue, you've got something like.
And then
really
sometimes
cool that
you
built.
can have a situation where the venue goes away and it's not your fault. You had shows,
True.
you brought people, but
Right.
for whatever reasons of their own, there might have
Yeah.
been a fight between the owners. They
Yeah,
might have
yeah.
had a problem with the lease. There might be a legal issue.
Right.
Like
Well, the-
I've dealt with that as well. I won't name names, but it's
Yeah.
I've been on that side of it where everybody was having fun and then the venue's gone.
Just write it on the wall, man. Write it on the wall.
Yeah.
No, but no, I've had issues like that too, where like we've been able to like pack out bars, but people aren't spending money on drinks because maybe the menu at the bar was too expensive, was too high end.
Yeah.
I had an issue like that, and there was no like fight with the owner. It was basically just like this is it. You have these people coming through, but nobody's spending money at the bar, and it's
Yeah.
it's an issue. So.
And sometimes when you have that conversation, it can be difficult if you tell them if you go with some lower priced items, you'll sell more, but then they'll be like, we're not that kind of place. And then you go,
Yeah.
all right, well, now you get nothing.
And I
So
think it's so
you know.
hard to tell artists that, hey, a part of your promotion is to not only invite your friends to come out, especially when there's a cover, they need to pay a cover, but you also need to make sure that they're drinking at the bar too. It's like
Yeah.
it's-
And tell them to tip the bartenders.
that's
Yeah.
because that's what keeps the nights alive, though, especially for free shows. If they're not spending money at the bar and I'm taking a flat from the bar, then then I'm in trouble.
And the other thing too is that people who work at the venues, especially if you're dealing with a bigger place where there's a sound guy and a lighting person and 2 security guards and 2 bartenders and
Yeah.
like if they're having fun and they get to know you and they get to know the band, then they've got their people that they go,
Right,
hey,
right,
you
right,
need to
right.
make sure you're here on Friday.
That's how you get
Yeah.
on better nights.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how I got better nights with my bands. Is
Yep.
like they were like, yo, you got to let them play it. Like,
I love doing Tuesday and Wednesday nights, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights, like those
Really?
nights during the week, and a lot of people hate it, and I think it's that's what's kind of given me like a little bit better options to choose from, because when you do Friday and Saturday nights, you're up against so much
Everything.
competition, you know. So those Tuesday, Wednesday nights, I'm able to like kind of try stuff out without having like that kind of pressure. So it's given me the opportunity to really like perfect certain aspects of it. So when I do have like a Saturday gig, I know exactly what to do to pack that room out, or which artist to book, you know, in situations. So, because if an artist brings out 20 people on a Tuesday night, they're going to do really well on a Saturday. You know?
Yeah, you can bring the big guns out on the weekend too. Like
Right.
once you've felt out your artists about who can draw well during the week, you know a weekend's going to be better.
Right.
That's what happened with Cliff 'Em All. We would get a lot of like these Wednesday and Thursday kind of shows, and then when we started getting the Friday and Saturday nights, it was even more. So like when Loaded was doing metal shows, we did really well there. Those were probably
I missed that room.
Yeah,
That was cool.
Those were probably the biggest and most packed and most crazy shows we did were at Loaded.
Yeah.
You know, those were fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And now it's like a Star Wars bar.
I know. I walked by it earlier today. It's crazy.
Yeah. Things change. All right, we're getting close to the end here, actually. We've been at this almost an hour with very little to no interference.
I
this
know,
time.
no issues today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we just dared the gods to do something here. So, any parting words before everything explodes?
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Honestly, I think it was cool that we got to do this a second time, because I feel like I was a little more comfortable in the situation with the conversation and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what I was getting into last time. So yeah, I know you guys. You guys have been to my shows and
Yep.
stuff. So
Yeah, that was the first time we met last time.
yeah, and
Yeah.
thank you guys for coming to that show. By the way, that was awesome.
Yes, that was interesting too. That was at the
theater.
the theater, the
Yeah,
hotel kind of room.
Yeah.
It was interesting because it had that LA like hidden show vibe, because you had to go through the parking lot of a hotel to get there, and then it was like up a flight of stairs, and then suddenly you're in this nice like screening room with the bands, and it was fun. You know?
It was cool.
Yeah, and then of course we did have the bar, which was an indoor-outdoor bar, which is always cool.
Yeah.
Bands, make sure you try to play a place like that if you can. That's
Definitely.
awesome.
Yeah, because it's always cool when there's a separation between the room and the bar, because people are quiet when they want to watch the music.
Right.
If they want to
Yeah.
talk, they can go outside.
Totally.
You know?
Because I hate screaming bar orders, especially like I'm a metal guy, so like man, I've gotten to the point where I just take my phone out and I write what I want and just give it to them, because I'm like, I'm not going to lose my voice shouting to this person.
I think my worst nightmare would be to be like a bartender at the whiskey. Because it's just night after night, just rock and roll, and you're just screaming back like to people how much a drink costs or whatever. But that's
Especially that downstairs bar, literally just straight across from the
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah. And the one on the side of the stage is no bargain either.
Oh, yeah, I
Like,
forgot about that one.
Yeah.
That's where the bands used to put their gear. We would get to load in and put our shit in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because when you're sitting there, too, it's right under that huge stack of amps. So, like, when I was talking to the bartender, I'm like, there's no fucking way he's going to hear me. So I just wrote it down.
Just
and go,
write it on your hand.
And then-
whiskey,
Yeah.
Coke.
He actually was like, thank you. And I said, I know you got a rough job, buddy. I'm trying to help you, too. All right. So now where can everybody connect with all of the things you're doing online?
Instagram is at the Spotlight Sessions. Facebook is at the Spotlight Sessions, and my Twitter is just Jared A. Saia.
Okay.
So
Excellent. So everyone check out his shows and keep in touch with us, The Music Chamber Live, on Facebook, on Instagram, on SoundCloud, Ultimate Studios Inc. on YouTube, and at the MC Live on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you again for tuning in. And everybody remember, December 7th.
Toys for Tots.
Toys for Tots
Big
benefit.
show.
Free show as long as you bring the toy, or you're going to get shaken down by the Marines.
If you're
Shamed.
if you're not in LA, you can
Shamed.
watch it on the YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
So,
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Jared.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, audience. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you next week. Well, I will.
All right.